In this section, we will consider the family in terms of contextual issues. Given the reality of our culturally complex society, as well as the ongoing process of change, awareness of different family forms is essential to a fuller understanding of individuals and their families. We as family counselors also need to be sensitive to the larger socio-political context, as well as to the interface between the systems within this context. Therefore, in terms of contextual issues in the family, in this section we will briefly consider structural variations, cultural variations, and additional issues related to diversity and cultural competence. Another aspect which is also relevant in terms of contextual issues are ecological issues. We will, however, leave discussing this until our next section, where we look at using an eco-map as a therapeutic tool. Structural variations. The simplest systemic context for a problem is an interaction between two parties. She nags and he withdraws. Parental control provokes adolescent rebellion and vice versa, but sometimes the dyadic perspective doesn't take in the whole picture. Family problems become entrenched because embedded in powerful but unseen structures. Regardless of what approach a family counselor takes, it's wise to understand something about a family structure. Here we will consider what are the subsystems and what are the natures of the boundaries between them. What is the status of a boundary around the couple or family? And also we would look at what triangles are present. Are individuals and subsystems protected by boundaries that allow them to operate without undue interference, but also at the same time, do they allow them to access the necessary support? If we look at particular types of families in terms of structure, we can see that in enmeshed families, parents may intrude into sibling conflicts so regularly that brothers and sisters never learn to settle their own differences, whereas in disengaged families, parents may not only refrain from interrupting sibling quarrels, but also fail to offer sympathy and support for a child who feels bad about a sibling's treatment. If we further consider structural variations, as we have seen from earlier in this unit, that within our South African context, we as family counselors will engage with many different types of families. For instance, nuclear, single parent, blended families, and child-headed households. As we work with families, it is important to consider the unique structural context of each type of family that we work with. If we consider this within the counseling context, as the rates of divorce, single parenting, step parenting, and remarriage continue to increase, we as family counselors will continue to be called on to help clients deal with additional challenges associated with the crises of reorganization in family living. If we consider this developmental perspective that enables us to understand and anticipate the structural and emotional adaptations necessitated by divorce or remarriage is essential. We can say that a single model perspective of the family no longer provides sufficient information, but rather must be enhanced by models that include tasks faced by different types of families. In your Beck-Farr reading, you can explore the works of Garfield, who looks at how families experiencing divorce and the challenge of single parenthood must deal with unique transitions and challenges. And also you can look at the work of Fisser and Fisser, who consider the necessary tasks for achievement of the step family who are trying to integrate. We as family counselors also need to be aware of the impact of culture on the life of the family. According to McGoldrick and Giordano in 1996, cultural identity influences the definition of family, family life cycle phrases, the emphasis placed on various traditions and celebrations, occupational choice, characteristic problems, and logical solutions, as well as the attitudes towards the process of therapy. We as family counselors need to learn to respect diversity and develop sensitivity to some of the issues faced by members of other cultures and ethnic groups. We can use generalizations about ethnic groups to increase our level of awareness However, we can never assume that the ethnic group stereotypes that we familiar ourselves with can accurately describe the family sitting in the counseling room with us. We as family counselors must thoroughly familiarize ourselves with the characteristics of our client populations. One way to achieve this is to take a one-down position with regards to cultural and ethnic diversity. That is, to ask your clients to teach you about their experience and traditions rather than play the role of the expert. We also need to acknowledge the additional developmental challenges that may be faced by individuals and families of different ethnic groups, and we also must adapt the interventions we use, such as modifying the genogram with working with members of diverse populations in order to accommodate cultural variations. When we are able to recognize and understand difference, not as deviance but as simply another way of life, we respond accordingly and are thus potentially more helpful. We meet our clients where they are, and we help them to achieve their goals and facilitate well-being in ways most useful for them. Other diversity issues. In addition to increasing our awareness and understanding of both structural and cultural variations in terms of families, it is also equally important that we also gain a similar awareness in a variety of additional diverse factors that families coming for counseling may be dealing with. These could include social economic status, religious or spiritual orientation, physical challenges, career choices, and cross-cultural relationship issues. We may also come across in our counseling sessions non-traditional variations of families, such as communal families, families with cohabiting parents, and families with homosexual parents. And each of these families have their own unique requirements and special challenges, which we as family counselors would also be able to make ourselves familiar with in order to be effective.